Okay, we'll start as soon as I get the okay from my team. Okay, we're good to go. So welcome back, everyone. It's nice to have you here or theirs, wherever you're watching from. And we're going to cover some exciting new material this session. However, before I do that, I want to review a couple of things or remind you of a couple of things. The first thing is, whenever we use the releasing questions, they're an invitation. So do your best to not overthink them. The more you think about it, the more difficult it is to do. The less you think about it, the more you lead from your heart as opposed to this thing, your head, uh, the easier it is. And when I ask you, could you let it go? Just be honest with yourself. If the answer is no, say no to yourself. Often you'll let go even if you say no. In fact, some of the biggest releases I've seen in seminars is when someone honestly says, no, I can't let go. And then right after that, they start laughing because it lets go by itself. And so be easy on yourself. This material, we're condensing a lot of material into these 6 sessions, a lot. So it may feel intense at times, but each time you view these recordings, the more you'll get out of it. And it will continually to expand exponentially over time. And remember, you're learning a tool that's a do-it-yourself tool that you'll be able to use in life. So eventually you'll find that you don't need to watch these recordings as often because you're just simply doing it on your own. Remember, releasing is natural. Letting go is natural. And the more we allow it to be natural and the more we practice it, the easier it gets. So what we'll be doing is going deeper in this session. And we'll be focusing on the underlying motivators that create all those emotions that we talked about in the last session. Every emotion that we have is made up of thousands and thousands and thousands of feelings and thoughts. But all of those culminate into these deeper wants, these deeper desires, these deeper motivators. And the first one is that we'll focus on is resistance. Have you ever started a project really gung-ho and then lost enthusiasm somewhere in the middle? Of course you have. Have you ever felt like you're moving forward in life, but the brakes are still on? Have you ever felt like you don't even want to do the things that you enjoy doing? Have you ever noticed that when someone says you have to do something, you must do something, you should do something, even if you wanted to a moment ago, you don't want to anymore? All that is resistance. And resistance is just a feeling. Most of us assume if we're resisting something, we should just avoid it like the plague. But there are things that we have to do that we resist, like take care of the body, file our taxes, go to work when we're fortunate enough to have a job or to be able to leave the house to go to a job, or to just go into the room in your house where you work. And when you allow yourself to start letting go of the resistance, not only does everything get easier, but you also enjoy the things that you enjoy the most now even more. Because when you have a feeling of resistance, you're not just resisting the things that you're conscious of resisting, you're resisting everything. So to the degree that you feel resistance, to the things that you don't like, then you're also resisting the things you do like as well. So if you allow yourself to let go of resistance, you'll start to feel more ease, more flow, more acceptance, more ability to have, be, or do whatever it is you'd like to do or have or be in life. So let's do a release on resistance. And remember, with just like with all releases, be easy on yourself. Every release is always as best you can or just for now. And that's not cheating. If you try to force yourself to release, that just stirs up resistance. If you notice as we go through this, you'll notice that almost everything we do is in a series of questions. And the reason is that for that is it's an invitation for you to discover that natural ability to let go right within you. But if I told you you should let go, you're not going to want to. I wouldn't either. All right. So let's do the release. In this moment, could you allow yourself to just stop? Notice what is, and or just simply allow yourself to be. And by the way, that's something you can do in life anytime. Just simply stop and notice what is, and or just allow yourself to be. We're so busy having or doing, we forget about being. Most of us are human doings as opposed to human beings. And then in this moment, allow yourself to think of something in your life or in the world that you've been resisting. And could you welcome that feeling of resistance? Could you just let it be here? Be present with it. And then as best you can, just for now, could you let go of that feeling of resistance? Just could you? Remember, yes or no are acceptable answers. You'll find you let go just as well if you're being honest. Would you? When? And let's run through that a few more times. Allow yourself to focus on that same thing or anything else in your life or in your world that you've been resisting. And could you welcome that feeling of resistance? Could you just let it be here? And then as best you can, just for now, could you let that feeling go? Just could you? Could you set it free? Allow it to unravel. Allow it to dissolve. Would you? When? And again, could you allow yourself to focus on that same thing or anything else that you've been resisting? And could you welcome that feeling of resistance? Could you just let it be here? And then as best you can, just for now, could you let it go? Just could you? Could you just drop it? Would you? When? And let's do that one more time. Again, allow yourself to focus on that same thing or anything else in your life that you've been resisting. You've been trying to slow down, push away. You've been dragging your feet. You've been saying no to. And could you just welcome that feeling of resistance? Could you just let it be here? And then as best you can, just for now, could you let it go? Just could you? Would you? When? And then notice how you feel. Notice how there's probably greater ease, greater relaxation. Things may already be appearing to you easier, more possible. And we just did this for a few minutes. Imagine what your life is going to be like the more you let go of resisting what is. And also, sometimes we hesitate to let go of resisting what is because we think we'll be stuck to it. But if you notice in life, the things you resist the most often are the things that persist the most. Resistance is like glue. It gums you up inside, but it also causes things that you resist to stick to you, to stick in your experience. And when you let go of resistance, it doesn't mean you become a pushover. Martial artists know this. If you flow with the energy of life or the energy that an opponent is throwing at you, if you resist it, you get knocked over. But if you flow with it through letting go of resistance, then you become invincible. You have amazing inner strength. So do your best to notice resistance when you do and let it go. And at the same time, be on the lookout for ease, for flow, for a willingness to do the things that you'd like to do or you believe you need to do. And you may even want to, you don't have to change your external language. I never recommend that. But when you're talking to yourself, maybe use less imperatives, less language like, I have to do this, I must do this, I should do this. And just invite yourself to do it. So look for the flow in addition to letting go of the resistance. Look for the flow. Look for ease. The more you look for it, the more you find it. And another thing that underlies all feelings is the feeling of wanting to change it. And many of you have heard of the serenity prayer. And I don't know if I'll say it correctly. We'll see how I do. God, please grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the strength to change the things I can change, and the wisdom to know the difference. When you allow yourself to let go of wanting to change what is, many things happen. and you'll see why I shared the prayer in a moment. The first thing is, when you let go of wanting to change what is, you find yourself naturally accepting the things that you cannot change. It just bubbles up inside, and it gets easier and easier and easier to allow the things that you are unable to change to be as they are. It makes things simpler. And you feel a lot more serene. The other thing that happens is, when you want to change something, you have to keep being stuck in whatever the pattern is that you want to change. You keep replaying it in your experience or in your internal dialogue over and over and over and over again. But when you let go of wanting to change it, then you find yourself actually changing it. It opens you up to unlimited inner strength. And the more you do that, the more you'll feel this ability to master life. And one of the places we all get stuck is wanting to change what was. But when we want to change what was, it gets locked in our consciousness. And we keep going back to that, as opposed to moving forward in our life and dealing with what is actually here now. And now is the only time you can do anything about anything. So as you let go of wanting to change the things that you're wanting to change in life, you'll either find yourself serenely accepting them or actually changing them. And that brings in the wisdom. As you let go of wanting to change things, it opens you up to clear reason and intuitive knowingness. And so you can tell the difference between the things you can change and the things you can't. And you stop wasting energy on the things that you cannot change. And your energy goes into only, or more over time, the things that you can change. So let's do a release on wanting to change it. So in this moment, could you just simply stop and notice what is? And or simply allow yourself to be. And then could you allow yourself to think of something in your life or in the world that you've been wanting to change? And could you just be present with, notice, allow the wanting to change it? And then, as best you can, just for now, could you let go of wanting to change it? Just could you? Remember, no is an acceptable answer. Would you? When? And we'll run through that a few more times. And by the way, you'll find that if you're ever stuck in your life or stuck with this process, if you let go of wanting to change it, it will help you get unstuck. So again, allow yourself to focus on that same thing or anything else in your life or in the world that you've been wanting to change. And then, as best you can, just for now, could you just set it free? Let it go. Allow it to unravel. Would you? When? And again, allow yourself to focus on that same thing or anything else in your life that you've been wanting to change, wanting to fix. And then, as best you can, just for now, could you let go of that feeling of wanting to change it? Would you? When? Do you notice how things are starting to lighten up inside? Again, if you're not sure and this is new to you, just sit back and allow it to unfold. It gets easier and easier and easier over time. And again, allow yourself to focus on that same thing or anything else in your life that you've been wanting to change, wanting to fix. And could you just be present with it? Allow it. Welcome it. And then, as best you can, just for now, could you just set it free? Let it go. Allow it to dissolve. Would you? When? Okay, good. So again, this is also a very powerful way to support you in your letting go and your releasing. If you're ever feeling stuck in apathy or grief or fear or lust or anger or pride or in your life in general, just check to see if there's any wanting to change it. And if there is, just simply allow yourself to let go of wanting to change it as best you can. And the more you let go of wanting to change it, the more you'll find that you feel calmer, more serene inside, and the more you'll find that you can change even long-standing issues that have seemed unchangeable in the past. And also allow yourself to be on the lookout for the things that are completely okay as they are. Whenever you learn a new tool, I don't know about you, but I know in my experience with myself and many other people, we often look to find things that are wrong in order to fix them. But always remember to also look for the things that are already right in your life. If you look for that, that's what you find. So both resistance and wanting to change are actually part of something we call wanting to control. Wanting to control is one of the master programs that keep the mind bound. Now, am I saying there's anything wrong with being in control in your life and or feeling in control? Of course not. You'll find the more you let go of wanting to control, the more in control you feel, and the more your life will reflect it. And remember, you're letting go with all these wants that we'll be focusing on for the rest of the session. You're letting go of wanting. You're not letting go of having. When you feel wanting to fix, wanting to change, wanting to manipulate, wanting to push, wanting to struggle, wanting to effort, which are all synonyms for wanting to control, it's because you already feel out of control. You feel like your world is spinning in a direction that it shouldn't, and sometimes very quickly. So if you allow yourself to start letting go of wanting to control, you'll find yourself taking charge of your life in ways you never would have imagined before. And you'll also be able to tell the difference between the things that are controllable and the things that aren't. And the other thing about wanting to control is we have all our beliefs, as I mentioned yesterday, when we discussed holistic releasing, everything we experience in life arises in pairs or in duality. If you have in, you also have out. Right, wrong, etc. Well, the same thing is true with wanting to control. Without realizing it, we all have a wanting to be controlled, a wanting to give our power away. An example is sometimes we give our power away to the news. We let it disturb us, or we give our power away to the weather. We think just because it's a rainy day or whatever the weather is, some people don't like sunny days. Whatever the weather you don't like is, because it's there, you think you have to be unhappy about it because you've given your power away to that weather or that news or whatever it is. But also, when you're wanting to be controlled, you don't want to lead in your life. You're wanting others to tell you what to do. And you can get frozen in waiting for the world or someone else to tell you what to do. And you don't trust your own intuitive knowingness and clear reason. So it's helpful to let go of both the wanting to control and the wanting to be controlled. And both of them have a hard, pushy feel to them. And obviously the wanting to be controlled is a little more, you do it. And with wanting to control is, I'm going to do it. But both of them are hard, have a hard edge to it. That's one of the ways you can recognize them. So let's do a release on wanting to control. So in this moment, could you just simply stop? And notice what is, and or allow yourself to just simply be. And then could you allow yourself to think of something in your life that you've either been wanting to control or where you've been feeling a wanting to be controlled? And could you welcome that wanting? Could you just be present with it? Allow it to be here. And then, as best you can, just for now, could you let it go? Just could you? Would you? When? And again, allow yourself to focus on that same thing or anything else in your life that you've either been wanting to control or there's been a wanting to be controlled. And could you just be present with it? Welcome it. Allow it. And then, as best you can, just for now, could you let it go? Just could you? Would you? When? And again, allow yourself to focus on that same thing or anything else in your life where you've either been wanting to control or you've been feeling a wanting to be controlled. And could you just let it be here? Allow it. And then, as best you can, just for now, could you just let it go? Just open inside and allow it to dissolve. Would you? When? So I highly recommend that you start exploring letting go of the wanting to control and the wanting to be controlled. And at the same time, allow yourself to notice the many things in your life that you feel in control of. Remember, it's always helpful to look for the positive in your life that is already present. And by the way, for those of you who have been wondering what that sound, that squeaky sound is in the background, I live with a very adorable bird named Willow. And when she hears me doing calls or seminars like this, she always wants to give her 2 cents. And the nature of my house and where I can do this, I don't really have any control over that. So just see it as background music. So wanting to change or resist or the feeling of resistance or wanting to control, for most of us, is the want that is most on the surface. But a little deeper than that is the wanting approval, the wanting love, the wanting affection, the wanting admiration, the wanting to be noticed, the wanting to stand out or be center of attention, or simply just wanting others to care about you, to be kind to you. Now, again, remember what I was saying, you shouldn't have any of that? Of course you can. But would you rather want all that? Or would you rather have that? And when you're wanting approval or wanting love, you subconsciously find yourself opening mouth and inserting your entire foot. We often subconsciously sabotage ourselves when we're wanting approval. We do the very things that are going to cause other people to withhold attention or affection or approval or love from us. So you'll find that as you let go of wanting approval, you'll feel more approved of. You'll feel more cared for. You'll feel more love and more loving. And in my experience, the love that we're seeking outside of ourselves is already right within us. And the more you let go of wanting love, the more you'll discover this source of love that's already right within you. And you'll find that you bring love and attention and caring and affection to others, and they'll really appreciate it. And you'll find much more harmony in your life because of it. The more you're a loving influence in and on your life, the better everything works. Now, just like with wanting to control, having its opposite of wanting to be controlled, wanting love has its opposite of wanting to not be loved, or wanting disapproval, or just simply wanting to give love as opposed to get it. But also remember that's wanting. And by the way, they feel the same. When you're wanting love, it feels soft and needy. It's gimme, gimme, gimme. And if anyone's done the gimme, gimme, gimme game with you, which I'm sure you've experienced, you don't want to give when someone's wanting. So if you allow yourself to let go of wanting disapproval and wanting approval, you gain neutrality. You become your inner source of love, your inner source of attention. And you'll find that the world naturally gives it to you as well. So it's really, really helpful to allow yourself to let go of wanting approval or love, or wanting affection, and wanting disapproval, wanting to love, or rejecting love, pushing it away. The less you try to manipulate love to get it or to not get it, the more it just flows naturally within your own system and within your world. Lester Levinson, the man who inspired this work, used to say, someone who has only love in their heart does more good on the planet than everyone who's trying to do good. And am I saying, by the way, let me be very clear here. Am I saying don't try to do good? Of course not. You'll find yourself naturally moving in ways to help not just yourself, but everyone in our human family, and also the rest of our wonderful planet as well. And you'll also find that as you let go of wanting love, it's naturally flowing right within you. So let's do a release on that. So in this moment, could you just allow yourself to stop? Notice what is. And or allow yourself to be. And then, as best you can, just for now, allow yourself to look at your life. Specifically, look at social interactions too, but it's everywhere. Where you've either been wanting love or avoiding love. And could you just be present with that? Allow it. Notice it. And then, as best you can, just for now, could you let that go? Just could you? Remember, just do it as best you can. Would you? When? And then allow yourself to focus on that same thing or anything else in your life or in the world that has been stirring up either the wanting love or the wanting to push it away. And could you just let that be here? Allow it. Be present with it. And then, as best you can, just for now, could you just set it free? Let it go. Allow it to unravel. Would you? When? And let's do that again. Could you allow yourself to focus on that same thing or anything else that stirs up the wanting approval or love or the wanting to push it away? And could you just be present with it? Welcome with it, or welcome it as best you can. And then could you let it go? Just could you? Would you? When? Okay, good. And now, before I go on to the next one, just a couple of reminders. In addition to noticing the wanting love or approval and noticing what happens in your world when you let it go, start noticing the love and the approval that you already have for yourself and others. The more you notice that, the more you look for that, the more you'll find it. And remember, you can always increase the love you have for yourself, not just by letting go of wanting love, but by choosing to love. Because the source of love is right within you, in any situation, you can choose love. And that's a shortcut. If you can actually allow yourself to choose love in this moment, in any situation, you feel the love flowing within you and around you. And so choose love and let go of wanting it. So deeper than that is the wanting security or survival. Right now, many of us are experiencing more of that than usual. Wanting security or survival is a fear of death, a fear of getting hurt, a fear of bad things happening to you. And it results in all our anxiousness, our anxiety. And it motivates our other feelings to a lesser extent. And it motivates our behavior as well. And so when you're wanting security or survival, it's just like the other ones. You tend to do things that are counter survival, counter you being safe. Again, I know it may not make sense, but the more you wanting survival, the more afraid you feel, the more out of control you feel, the more the world seems, and everyone in it seems like a threat. But the more you let go of wanting security and survival, the safer you feel inside. The easier it is for you to move through life with ease and grace and inner, unshakable security. Now, wanting security or survival is the fear of death, the fear of bad things happening. But we also have an opposite fear. It's the fear of life, and they feel the same to varying degrees. Now, of course, sometimes it's not that strong. But when you're afraid of life, there's a wanting to die. Now, you may be saying to yourself, no, I don't want to die. Oh, that sounds terrible. Well, that's the wanting survival. But remember, it's heads and tails of the same coin. And so they arise together. And everyone has probably experienced, if they're willing to really look or admit it, times where they just didn't want to deal with it anymore. And when you let go of that, then you can fully embrace life. You can live life fully as you let go of wanting security or survival, and you let go of wanting to die. Then you're in life with less and less fear and uncertainty, less and less contraction, greater and greater ease. And you live life accordingly. And you'll find that the choices you make are more and more pro-survival, more and more for what's in your highest and best good. So it's really helpful and important to let go of the wanting survival and the wanting to die. And again, if you're not really experiencing the wanting to die, don't worry about it. It will come up whenever it does, if it does. Just remember, with all this, be easy on yourself. So, ready for another release? So in this moment, could you just simply stop and notice what is? And simply allow yourself to be. And then could you welcome or allow any wanting security or survival, or any wanting to die, any fear of life or fear of death? Now, if you're not feeling it, just think of a situation in your life that brings it up, but do it lightly. You'll be able to handle more and more and more the more you do this. So in this moment, could you welcome that feeling, that want? Could you allow it? Be present with it. And then as best you can, just for now, could you let it go? Just could you? Would you? When? And could you allow yourself to focus on that same thing or anything else in your life or in your world or within your body that stirs up the wanting security or survival or the wanting to die? And could you just simply allow that, welcome it, be present with it? And then as best you can, just for now, could you let that go? Just could you? Would you? When? And again, allow yourself to focus on that again. What's something else? Or again, if there's more, focus on the same thing that stirs up either you're wanting security or survival or you're wanting to die. And could you just be present with it? Allow it. Notice it. And then as best you can, just for now, could you let it go? Would you? When? Okay, good. So as you let go of the wanting security and survival and the wanting to die, you'll notice an even more ease, inner safety, inner security. And right now, that's so important. And as you feel that way, you find yourself doing the things that are really pro living full out and pro what's in your highest and best good. So, but just like with the other ones, allow yourself to look inside and in your life for where you already feel secure, where you already feel safe. Don't just look for the wanting security or the wanting to die and let it go, but also look for where you already feel safe. You already feel secure. And that's what you find. And the deepest want, which is again also a pair, is the wanting to be separate and the wanting to be one. When we're wanting to be separate, we're trying to hold the world at bay. We're trying to withdraw inside. And there's nothing wrong with that where it's appropriate. But often we're wanting to be separate from that which we care about or those that we care about the most without realizing it. And we're also wanting to be one with them without recognizing that we already are. At our core, each and every one of us intuitively knows that there is an underlying unity that we all share. And this underlying unity becomes more obvious to us when we let go of the wanting to be separate and the wanting to be one. Now, if you've been on the spiritual path for a while, you've probably been trying to get back to the one. But what if you've never left? And so the more you let go of wanting to be separate and wanting to be one, the more at home you feel everywhere, because you see the underlying unity, the underlying harmony, the underlying interconnectedness. And it's beautiful. And again, remember, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being one. Of course there isn't. And there also isn't anything wrong with having your own space, setting boundaries whenever appropriate. So let's do a release on this as well. So in this moment, could you just simply stop? And notice what is. And just allow yourself to be. And then allow yourself to review your world and your body-mind. And check to see if there's anywhere in your life where you've either been wanting to be separate or wanting to be one, that you can get in touch with. And if so, could you just be present with it? Welcome it as best you can. And then as best you can, just for now, could you set it free? Could you let it go? Could you allow it to unravel? Would you? when. And could you do that again? Focus either on the same thing or on anything else that stirs up either a wanting to be separate or a wanting to be one. And could you just allow yourself to be present with that? Allow that. Notice that. And then, as best you can, just for now, could you let it go? Just could you? Would you? When? Okay, good. So everything that we covered in this session will help you vastly accelerate your releasing whenever you're in touch with it. Now, don't force this. If you're only aware of an emotion in this moment, release the emotion using the tools that we discussed in the last session. But when you can, or when you just simply notice it, you'll find yourself letting go at this deeper level as well. And the more you let go at this deeper level, the quicker and easier you'll see results. But just be easy on yourself. Just allow this all to flow naturally. And the more you do that, the easier it gets. And I highly recommend that you watch this recording numerous times. Each time you do, it will go deeper. You'll see more. And there's all these wonderful releases that will take you further and further and further. Okay, good. So until the next session, that's all. And by the way, these recordings are going to stay up for another few days. So please invite your friends, your relatives, everyone you know to view this and benefit from it. Picture your world with everyone you know letting go instead of holding on. Thank you.